Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. Appreciate y'all tuning back in. I want to thank everybody that has recently subscribed. Really appreciate it. I like when I check my analytics every now and then. I see a little bump up in the number of subscribers. That's always a cool thing to see. And I appreciate the comments, the feedback, the likes, all that stuff. It means a lot. And I'm trying to keep to my schedule of 2 videos a week at least. And today I'm going to do my Wednesday video. It's on a soft plastics rig that I don't know if I've ever covered on the channel, but it is one that I use. You know, I'm a slider head guy. I use that slider head worm a lot. You know, I like the free rig. That's something I've gotten a lot of confidence in the last 2 years, and it pretty much has taken the place of the Mojo rig that I used to use. The free rig is just pretty versatile, and it's just something else that I like to use a lot. And the good old Texas rig. You know, I always got that rigged up in the box or either on the deck. The last one is one I haven't, like I said, haven't spoken a lot about, and that is the Neko rig. The Neko rig has always been, at least for the last 5 or 6 years for me, really, really good in the spring and around the spawn and in the pre-spawn. Then I don't really throw it as much unless if I'm having a hard time getting bites, I'll pick it up because it is a bite getter. It's always rigged up. It just ain't always out on the deck. And a lot of that I think is because I've become so accustomed to the moving baits and covering water and things like that. And that's kind of maybe pulled me away from this technique a little. But it is a very good technique for getting bites. I like to throw it again in the fall because a lot of people aren't throwing it. And you can cover a lot of water with a Neko rig. A lot more than what you would think. The other good thing about it is because of the way it's set up, and I'm going to show you the way I set it up, it is really, really good for skipping and getting it in places you can't get a lot of other rigs. The wacky rig, people love the wacky rig. The thing with the wacky rig is the sink is so slow. And that's part of the appeal of it. I get that. I don't always have the patience to throw that wacky rig. You know, I've talked about taking a Cinco or a stick bait and putting a nail weight in the end of it. The whole reason for that is to be able to cover more water and get it down in the water column faster. Same thing with the Neko rig. Some people swear by that wacky rig, and I ain't gonna say I don't throw it, but if I can put a weight in the bait and I can skip it, work it around the cover and then reel it in real quick and make another presentation with it, I can cover a lot more water. And that's kind of what makes the Neko rig kind of a good fall soft plastic technique to try. Now, let me show you first. I'm going to show you the components I use to put my Neko rig together. The first thing I want to talk about is the weight. I've talked about these before. Only weights I use tungsten wise is Woo Tungsten. I've got every size from 3/32 to 16th, 3/64, 1/32, 1/8 ounce. The size I use 75 to 80% of the time is 16th ounce. The reason I love the Woo Tungsten, all their tungsten stuff is really, to me, is really top notch. The thing with let me pull a bigger one out so you can see it. This is a 3/32, and I don't use it as often, but I want you to see something. The thing with the Neko rig is I do not like the sinkers that stick out of the head of the bait. The only time I'll ever use that is if I'm fishing open water around rock. So that tungsten head can tap on that rock and I'll know I've got my bait where I want it to be. Any other time besides that, when I'm just fishing the Neko rig, I love these Woo Tungsten nail weights. Let me see if I can get you a better shot of this. There we go. The thing with it is these ridges. The ridges on this thing and the sharp point make it very easy to get this in the worm, whatever kind of soft plastic you're using, and those notches hold it in there. You don't have to worry about these flying out. Now, some guys, they'll use these in lead. They don't hold up the same. A lot of guys will take the lead weight and then they'll add super glue to it. So when they put it in, it doesn't fly out. Because a lot of times when you catch fish on a Neko rig, the sinkers will have a tendency to fly out of the plastic when you're fighting the fish. These work better than anything I've seen. Sometimes I've gotten through a whole day with the same sinker. Worm will get torn up, worm will get worn out, but I can peel the plastic back, get this sinker out, and insert it into the next one. Now, if they throw your plastic and you can't get to it, that's a different story. But these things are money when it comes to Neko rigging. I'm sure Wu Tungsten's not the only brand that makes them. I'm sure other companies, tungsten, make them too. But this is just the ones that I love to use. So I use a 16th ounce, like I said, 75% of the time. Now, I do have other sizes, but as far as the tungsten goes, Wu Tungsten to me has got the best weight. That's the weight I use. Let me show you the hook. Now this hook, when I first started throwing the Neko rig, I tried 2 or 3, 4 different kinds of hooks. This is a very odd looking hook, but I'm telling you, it's called the Gamakatsu size 2. It's only 3 in a pack, and it's called the Wicked Wacky hook. It's a wacky rig hook. Now this thing, it's got a little bend in the hook, and that's where you tie it on. It's got a weed guard. That's the way it sits in your plastic. Now it would look like the design would be not have a good hookup ratio. Don't ask me how, but it has a very good hookup ratio. Let me show you a bait that I've rigged up with it. This is how it when I cast it, this is how the hook sets in the bait. And I'm telling you, when they suck this thing in, the way that little bend in the curve of the hook right there, you just pop that, set in the hook, and they don't get off. It was the best one I found, and I tried some from VMC. I tried some other sizes and different kinds of hooks that I saw in some research I did for it. And when I tried these, I stuck with them because it always penetrated the top lip really, really well, and it made it easy to set the hook and get those fish in the boat. So the tungsten weight is the Wu Tungsten, and the weight that you insert into the head. And you can push these all the way in. Now it's got a head on it, but you can, as you can see with this worm right here, there's one in the head of that worm, but you can't see it. It's inserted all the way into the plastic. So these nail weights, that's the Gamakatsu Wicked Wacky hook. Let me show you the packaging one more time. And I'm pretty sure Tackle Warehouse has all that as far as the hooks goes, and you can go Wu Tungsten site. And I wanted to mention this. I don't know how many of you guys use Wu Tungsten. I know, you know, they went through a spell where they were asking people to be on their promotional staff. So I joined up with them for that, and I got a little bit of their stuff to sample and liked it so much that I took the opportunity to get on their promotional staff, you know, and it's just a discount, 10, 15%, I don't know what it is. But if you go on their website, Wu Tungsten carries lots of different things now. They don't just carry their own products and their own weights and stuff and their own apparel. They have so many different brands that they now carry on the Wu Tungsten website. It's like updated constantly. So you could go up there. I know they sell the Z-Man stuff. I know they sell lots of different plastics brands. So you might want to check their website out just because of the fact they carry so much on it now. But these hooks, I'm pretty sure you got to get at Tackle Warehouse. So I don't know, unless Gamakatsu has them on their own personal website. So that's the weight, that's the hook. I use this old-fashioned tool with the O-rings. I use the traditional O-ring because it works for me. It's always worked. I've never had any issues with them. I'm not even sure what size they are. I just buy the little kit that came with this tool, and just had different sizes, and I just used the the O-ring that fits best on the plastic that I'm throwing. Now, let me show you, I got one rigged up. It doesn't take a long time to rig this up, but it does take a little bit of time. Now, this is a new bait that I just started throwing around some, and this is from Gorilla Squad, Soft Plastics. It's their 5-inch French fry, but it's got a couple of little twin tails on it. I don't know if you can see that. I think you can right there. This is a little bait that I've been tossing around on it. And I'm going to show you some other worms, other plastics too. But you want to make sure you got this thing rigged right. The first thing is the weight. Like I said, you can't see the weight, but it's in the head. You want to make sure you have your hook, the point of that hook, the top of the hook, pointing towards the tail, not towards the head. You want to get your O-ring about 1/3 of the way up the length of the worm that you're throwing. Let me straighten this out so you can see it. That's about 1/3 of the way up. And then you put your O-ring, then you insert your hook, and you're ready to throw this thing around. Now, you would think this hook would stay hung up a lot. Now, it's got a little weed guard on it. Let me show you that. It's a little double nylon weed guard. This thing does not get hung up nowhere near as much as you would think it would. It's, one of my dogs is hacking up something over here. It does not get hung up nowhere near as much as you think it would. It does really, really well. The angle that it comes through and with the weed guard, if you put it in right, you will not get hung up with this rig. It comes through cover, and I mean all kinds of cover, grass. Now, you can't throw this in the middle of a laydown. This is something that you want to fish on the outside of the cover, outside of a grass line, on the outside of edges of a laydown. I fished it up around the cypress trees in the river, and it's always been something I can get through. Now, I ain't gonna say I don't never get hung up, because occasionally you're going to. But for the way this rig looks, it comes through cover very well. Now, the weight. You want the weight in there because you want this thing to get to the bottom as quickly as you can. But what it does, it has a spiraling effect when it falls. That's why you want to put your hook closer to the head, because it does have like a spiraling effect when it falls through the water column. If you put your hook too far up, it spirals way too much. And you don't want that. You want it to be within, like I said, the first third of the worm towards the head is where you want this to go. Now, the next thing is, when it hits bottom, you want to pop it very quickly, because you want to get you want to get that worm that's setting up, you want to get that thing just popping through the water as quickly as you can. And I'll usually pop it 4 or 5 times around the cover, then I'll reel it back in and I'll cast it again. So you let it sink, you let it go to the bottom, and then this head, let me see if I can, this head is just, when you're doing that, and you imagine this tail sitting straight up in the water now, because the water's going to support it and hold it up. And that's all you're doing. And after 4 or 5 real fast twitches, sometimes I'll slow it down depending on how the fish are acting, then I'll reel it up and I'll skip it back under there again. And you can skip, if you think you can skip a wacky rig, you can skip this just as well. I'm telling you, you got to get a knack for it and get a feel for it if you haven't fished it before. But I'm telling you, it skips very well, and you can get it way, way back up underneath the cover. That's pretty much it as far as the hook, the weight, the O-ring. This is one of the baits I like to throw on it, and this is one I just started working with a little. This is, like I said, the Gorilla Squad French fry, and this color is called, hold on, I can tell you. I think it's called the Sheriff. It's basically blue with silver, with blue flake is basically the color, which is a popular color, you know, in the rivers and stuff anyway. It's just a real popular color in other baits as well. But I got some of these French fries in that color. I like the dual tails on it, the little twin tail on it. That's definitely going to give it some more action. But that's one of the baits I like to throw on. A couple of other ones. This is also Gorilla Squad bait. This is the finesse worm or trick worm in that shockwave color that I talked about, kind of pearl blue on the bottom and green pumpkin on top. Another one I like to throw on it. This is the Magnum finesse worm from Zoom. That fat worm right there, that's a good one to throw on it. This is a Black Label hollow point and twisted mud bug. If you feel like you're getting more into a crawfish kind of bite, this brown orange color with the red flake in it, it's a good color and a good worm to try as well. Any finesse worm or trick worm you want to throw, this is just the one I like, a color I've really had success with in the river. Black and blue with silver flake. That's just a natural blue finesse worm. Let me show you two other baits that are kind of, little sleepers. When you do have a lot of bait fish feed going on, this is the Berkeley. Hold on, I can never remember the name of this thing. Let me find the package. I'll tell you the name of it. It is the Berkeley Disco Shad is the color, the Jerk. This is the Berkeley's the Jerk. It was from the Berkeley Havoc line, and this is Disco Shad. You rig this up just like you would. Now, I don't have the O-ring on it, but you can rig this up, and you just imagine the weights in there. And you put your O-ring on, and you can rig this up the same way. And you got your weight in the head, and you got the same setup, and this is like a sleeper. The fluke style baits, any of them will work up there. This is just a Berkeley Havoc that I like to throw. And I had one other one laid out. This is just a fluke. And you can do the same thing with the fluke. So any of those baits, you can fish on a Neko rig. And you can pretty much leave it up to your imagination, to be honest with you. Man, you can fish just about anything on a Neko rig. You really can. I put the French fry back on. But yeah, you can fish just about anything you would want on a Neko rig. And in the fall, not a lot of people are throwing it. And the fall of this thing and the choice of baits that you have and the way you rig it up, it'll get you a lot of bites on days. Because fall, you can still have those days when they stop chasing and they're not feeding and they're not out running after the bait. You need something on the bottom. And sometimes something just a little different, like this Neko rig, can get you some bites. So I just wanted to show you how I rig it up. Let me tell you about the rod. I fish it on I've really come to like these, the Bass Pro Shops Bionic blade. 6.5 foot medium heavy to 6'9" medium heavy. It's pretty much the rod. The only other rod I use now for anything on a spinning rod is I got 2 of these and 2 Dobbins. 2 Dobbins rods. And these to me are just as good as the Dobbins and don't cost as much. So chances are I'll end up getting more of these before I buy more Dobbins. So anyway, I just wanted to go over this with you guys. Again, the Neko rig. If you got any questions, comments, just leave them below. I appreciate everybody that has subscribed. If you haven't yet subscribed, but you're watching the videos on a regular basis, I would ask that you consider it. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys again this weekend with another video.